Hey gardening friends, ready to grow healthier plants, bigger harvests, and smarter gardens? Let's get started.
What if the biggest mistake you ever made with your clematis happened not when it was struggling, but right after it looked its most beautiful? Welcome to the Smart Gardener. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because every week we go deep on exactly the kind of plant-specific knowledge that turns good gardeners into great ones. Now, here is what I want you to understand first. If your clematis put on a stunning show in late spring, and now, halfway through July, the flowers have thinned out and the vine seems to have slowed down, that is not a problem. That is your plant doing exactly what it is supposed to do at this point in the season. The real damage happens in what gardeners do next. Some flood the plant with water every evening thinking it is thirsty. Others hit it with a heavy nitrogen fertilizer, hoping to force another round of blooms. And some cut the whole vine back because they have decided the season is over. Every single one of those reactions causes a specific problem, and in some cases, it quietly costs you months of growth you never needed to lose. Today, I am giving you exactly what your clematis needs this month, plus the mistakes that are already stealing next year's flowers before most gardeners even realize what happened. Before we get into it, drop your US growing zone in the comments right now. Clematis behaves very differently in Zone 4 than it does in Zone 9, and I want everything we cover today to actually apply to where you are gardening. Let's start with the single most overlooked factor that separates a clematis that thrives in July from one that quietly falls apart. And it has nothing to do with the flowers or the stems you can see, it is what is happening underground. Clematis roots perform best when soil temperature stays between 55 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. When air temperatures push past 86 degrees consistently, the root zone begins experiencing real physiological stress. The roots lose their ability to absorb water and nutrients efficiently. Flower production slows, leaves lose their rich color, and new shoots grow more slowly than they should. The frustrating part is that none of this shows up immediately. It creeps in over days while the damage is already building. The fix is straightforward. Lay down 2 to 3 inches of organic mulch around the base. Shredded bark, compost, or leaf mold all work well. This single step can reduce how often you need to water by up to 30% during the hottest weeks. Leave a clear gap around the crown where stems meet the ground, and never place large decorative stones over the root zone. Stone absorbs heat from the sun and holds it, making the soil warmer rather than cooler. If you want to go further, plant low-growing companions right around the base. Hardy geranium, heuchera, hosta, or coneflower are all excellent choices that shade the soil without competing aggressively for water. Now, keeping roots cool only works if you are also watering correctly. And this is where many experienced gardeners make a surprisingly common mistake. Water deeply once or twice a week, getting moisture down 12 to 18 inches into the soil. Shallow daily watering keeps roots near the surface where they are far more vulnerable to heat. Use a soaker hose placed at the base and let it run 30 to 45 minutes per session. Always water early in the morning before the heat arrives, and never wet the leaves in the evening. To check soil moisture, push your finger 2 to 3 inches into the soil near the base. Dry at that depth means it is time to water. If you are growing clematis in a container, check it daily, because pots dry out dramatically faster in July. And if your plant is under 2 years old, pay extra attention regardless. Young roots have not yet spread deep enough to find moisture on their own. Once you have the root zone under control, the next thing that determines whether you get a second round of flowers this season comes down to one simple habit most gardeners either skip or get wrong: deadheading. The moment a clematis flower fades, the plant immediately shifts its energy toward producing seed heads. Those silvery, feathery seed heads are genuinely beautiful, but making them costs real resources that could otherwise go into fresh flowering shoots. Every faded bloom you leave on the vine is quietly redirecting energy away from your next round of flowers. This is where knowing your clematis group matters. Group 1 blooms in spring on old wood and needs very little intervention. Group 3 blooms on new growth all summer and responds well to regular deadheading. But the group that deserves your full attention in July is Group 2. The large-flowered hybrids that bloom twice a year. That second flush in late summer is exactly what you are working toward right now. To trigger it, follow each faded flower stem down to the first strong pair of healthy leaves and make a clean cut just above that leaf joint. Do not cut more than 1/3 of the stem. After deadheading, consider a light feed with a high potassium fertilizer similar to tomato feed. Potassium drives flower development specifically and gives the plant an extra push toward that late summer bloom. With new growth coming in fast this month, you also need to stay on top of where those soft new shoots are actually going. Clematis does not climb with suction cups or tendrils like a grapevine. It wraps its leaf stalks around whatever support is thin enough to grip, and anything wider than 3/4 of an inch becomes difficult for the plant to hold. Many standard wooden trellises have slats that are simply too wide. If that is what you have, attach narrow wire mesh or garden twine over the surface to give the vine something it can actually wrap around. Guide new shoots now while they are still soft and flexible. Once stems harden into woody growth later in the season, repositioning them risks snapping them entirely. Use soft fabric ties only when necessary and keep them loose, because clematis stems thicken quickly, and a snug tie today can girdle the stem within weeks. Spreading growth evenly across the support pays off in a way you will not fully appreciate until next year, when flowers bloom from the base of the structure all the way to the top. Here is something most gardening guides get backwards. They tell you to watch your flowers to know how your clematis is doing, but flowers come and go quickly. Leaves stay on the vine for months, and if you learn to read them, they will tell you what is actually happening inside the plant long before a real problem takes hold. Healthy leaves are firm, evenly colored, and clean. If older leaves near the base are yellowing while the top stays green, that is completely normal. The plant is simply redirecting energy upward. But if leaves across the entire vine turn pale all at once, that points to a nutrient imbalance, water stress, or compacted soil. Brown crispy edges mean intense heat combined with inconsistent watering. White powdery patches mean poor air circulation. Orange or reddish dust on stems is rust. Remove affected growth immediately and treat early with a neem-based product before it spreads. Make it a habit in July to flip a few leaves over and check the undersides. Spider mites get far more active in hot, dry weather, and you will spot the pale speckling damage before you ever see the mites themselves. A firm spray of water at the undersides handles most light infestations without chemicals. If you find ragged holes in leaves but nothing visible during the day, slugs are working after dark. Roll a damp sheet of newspaper and tuck it near the base at sunset. Check it in the morning. Before reaching for any spray, always fix the growing environment first. Most problems resolve themselves when the conditions are right. So, now for the situation that sends more gardeners into full panic than anything else. Clematis wilt. The moment a stem collapses, the instinct is to cut the whole plant down. Stop. Not every wilted clematis has clematis wilt. In July, it is completely normal for a vine to look droopy during the hottest afternoon hours and recover fully by evening. If you are unsure, water deeply at the base and wait a few hours. If the plant perks back up, that was heat stress, not disease. Put the pruners away. True wilt looks very different. One specific stem collapses almost overnight while the rest of the plant stays healthy. Leaves on that stem turn black or dark brown. If you cut through the affected stem, the tissue inside is darkened. That is the signature of real wilt. Cut that stem back below the damaged section with disinfected pruners. Dispose of it in the trash, not the compost. And then do the most important thing of all. Do not pull the plant. Clematis is planted 2 to 3 inches deeper than its nursery pot, specifically so dormant buds exist below soil level. Those buried buds very often push out new replacement growth within just a few weeks. The plant is far more resilient than that moment suggests. With everything else in place, there is one more area where a well-meaning gardener can quietly undo all that good work. Fertilizing at the wrong time with the wrong formula. When spring blooms fade, the instinct is to grab a fertilizer and force the plant back into growth. But a formula high in nitrogen produces soft leafy growth at the expense of flowers. Nitrogen feeds leaves, not blooms. What your clematis actually needs in July is phosphorus, the nutrient that drives flower development and root strength. Look for a fertilizer where the middle number is the highest of the three. A ratio of 5-10-5 or 5-10-10 is ideal right now. If you are in the middle of a heat wave, hold off entirely. Stressed roots cannot absorb nutrients properly and fertilizer will burn them. Container plants need feeding more often, since watering flushes nutrients out of potting mix quickly. And regardless of whether your plant is in the ground or a pot, stop feeding completely by the end of July. From here, the goal is building reserves for next season, not pushing new soft growth. The last item on your July checklist almost never appears on any care list, but it can save an entire season in a single afternoon. Walk your support structure and check it carefully. By midsummer, your vine has added several feet of new growth, creating far more surface area for wind to catch during a storm. Check every bracket, screw, and connection point. Replace any twine that has gone brittle in the sun. Look for stems rubbing against rough wood or metal edges, because that friction creates entry points for disease. Spread crowded growth evenly across the support to improve airflow and distribute wind load. Here is the bigger picture. Everything covered in this video is doing two things at once. It is keeping your plant healthy right now, and it is quietly building next year's display at the same time. July is not just a maintenance month. It is one of the most consequential months in your Clematis calendar. These vines do not reward constant intervention. They reward consistency. Show up, pay attention, and resist the urge to overcorrect every time something looks slightly off. If this was helpful, subscribe to The Smart Gardener and hit the bell. And leave me two things in the comments. Which Clematis are you growing right now? And what is the biggest challenge your vine is facing this July? I read every comment, and your answers shape what we cover next.